I finally got around to finishing She-Hulk. I don't know what my overall opinion on the show is, to be honest. I like things in it, but I don't know if I like the show as a whole. I don't know if it did what it was setting out to do, and I don't know what it was setting out to do, because like it's completely different to any MCU show, movie out there. Like it's a full-on sitcom. It's just it's a sitcom with superhero stuff in it, and there isn't much superhero stuff in it outside of the last 2 episodes, and the first episode, and that's fine. You can do that. That's what She-Hulk in the comics is. And I'm gonna start off with the stuff that I did like. I like Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk. I like the characterization. I like that she's kind of, it goes kind of a different way to how the comics are, because I've always known of She-Hulk as she always wants to stay in She-Hulk form because that's where the confidence is. We may get that in a possible season 2, if there is a season 2, but there wasn't. This was very much like she doesn't want to be She-Hulk. She wants to avoid it at all costs, and that's an interesting thing. I feel like that's more realistic, and that seems more believable than she gets this thing where she turns into a fucking 8-foot green woman and she wants to stay that. That doesn't seem, that doesn't seem as believable as wanting to avoid that. I like most of the supporting cast. They don't get much to do, really. I think Puck, whatever his name was, I don't remember most of the names. I only finished it a couple days ago, which comes on to one of my bad points. But I think they were fine. They did what they did, and the amount of cameos that were in this were cool. I thought that they were going to introduce Ghost Rider at one point, but his name was Donny Blaze, not Johnny Blaze, which is weird. But yeah, I like that. Daredevil coming back. Obviously, I'm gonna be hyped about that. Charlie Cox's daddy, and also he's my favorite character. Come on, get him in everything. Charlie Cox in everything. Daredevil, give him 3 million seasons. I don't even care. I like the characterization of Daredevil in this. It's much more what he is in the comics. It is more lighthearted, and that's because he's in a sitcom. In his own show, it's going to be more the tone of the Daredevil Netflix series, I think. I hope. I want that to be the case. I want the Daredevil in the Daredevil show should feel like Daredevil, right? But Daredevil has been silly, and he can be silly, and his comics are silly. If you think that Daredevil's not silly, read the Wade and Samney run, or read the Jason Aaron run, or any run of Daredevil. Like, when people look at Daredevil, they will only see the Netflix series or Born Again, and those two are the Born Again is the darkest Daredevil story, I think. Maybe the Bendis run gets darker. I don't know much about the Bendis run, but yeah, they're both dark, right? But Daredevil as a whole, as a character, is silly. You know, it's a silly premise. It's a blind man whose powers allow him to see. It's a silly premise, and he's got a villain who's a stilt man. He's got a villain that's a frog. You know, his only decent villain is Bullseye, or the Purple Man, and the Purple Man can't be used because he's dead now. Unless they bring back David Tennant, which they should do, but they also shouldn't do because dead characters should stay dead. That's beside the point. I'm talking about She-Hulk. I like Daredevil in it. Would have liked him to be in more of it, but that's just a personal thing. That's kind of it for the things that I like. The She-Hulk's dad, Jen's dad, is one of the best dads in the MCU because he's one of the only. But he's a good character. I like Jen's dad. Would have liked to see more of him. Would have liked to see more of the family in general, or more of any of the supporting cast that wasn't like Wong. Wong's in 2 episodes for some reason. Like, technically he's in 3 because he's in the after credit scene at the end of the season finale. But I don't understand why he needed 2 episodes, because he's got the one with Abomination, and then he's got the one with Donny Blaze. And why some of the episodes in this didn't need to be episodes. And I feel like the show could have been, I know, episodic and keep it feeling like a TV show. I know, I get that. But the episodes that were episodic and that didn't follow the stuff with Abomination and stuff with, you know, Intelligentsia or whatever. Intelligentsia was crap, by the way. The whole thing in the comics, Intelligentsia is like headed by MODOK and the Leader, I think, and they're like a thing to do. I remember they're a thing to do with Red Hulk, and Red Hulk ends up beating them, and the whole scorched earth thing. In here, it's just a load of like dude bro man babies, which I understand why they went that route with having the villains be incels, right? Because you've got it's a big female-led TV show about a female superhero, and you have the villains be a representation of the trolls on Twitter, right? I understand that. I get that. Do that for an episode. Do that for an episode, because it's not compelling enough, really, for a whole season, especially not 9 episodes. I like the climax because it takes the piss out of the whole CG trope, the whole like big meta fourth wall break is great. I like that. Having Kevin be a robot, be basically that thing from WALL-E, is great. I thought that was really funny. But that's the only point in the show, apart from maybe some of the things with Daredevil. Like, that and Daredevil doing the Walk of Shame are the funniest moments of the show. And I think a 9-episode sitcom, superhero sitcom, there could have been more opportunities for big laughs, and I feel like there were more focused on cameos and, you know, Titania was crap. Titania was bad. Like, I don't know what they were doing with that character, to be honest. Because where's Absorbing Man? Why is Absorbing Man not in this? You have an Absorbing Man from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Bring him in. You're okay with bringing back Charlie Cox. You're not okay with bringing back Absorbing Man? Why not? He's cool. He's married to Titania. Why don't you have that be the end credit scene? Where she goes on a date and it's Carl Crusher Creel sat on a table. And he makes himself wood because he's got wood. Why didn't you do that? That would have been funny, and that would have been a thing to get people like, holy shit, Absorbing Man. He's gonna be a thing in season 2. No, you just do a stupid joke with Abomination going to Kamatage. That's exactly what I think most of this show is. It is silly. And if you look at it anything more than just being silly, fun, and just being the first attempt at doing something comedy forward, and I think they got it more towards the end, and the final episode I think is a triumph. I think if they ever do a Gwenpool show or anything with Gwenpool, I think that final episode is the template to do for the entire season. I think the reason why that came out of left field so much, when the whole screen just becomes the Disney Plus homepage, and then she's coming out of her own show and she goes into Marvel Assembled, and then she meets Kevin, but it's just a robot. The reason why that kind of comes out of left field is because none of the fourth wall breaks throughout the rest of the show have been that big. They've just been like talking to like an odd line, talking to the viewer, and then that comes out and it feels out of place. But I thought that it was brilliant. I thought it was a perfect way to end the show and to do the climax, and to not have it be like big CG fight. Because like, I think that finale was one of the best final episodes of a Disney Plus show. But also you have to bring in, like, they're taking the piss out of all of the MCU tropes and everything. But does that mean that from this point forward, those MCU tropes aren't going to be the case anymore? Because how can you make superhero movies without big CG smash fight at the end? That's kind of what superhero movies are. That's kind of what they do. You know, that's what Secret Wars is probably going to be. You know? So, like, yeah, taking the piss out of it, that's fine. It was funny. It was funny. But yeah, the show itself is okay. It's fine. It's meh overall. It does some really cool things. It brings back my favourite character, and the episode with my favourite character is the best thing on Disney Plus. The best singular episode of a Marvel Disney Plus show. I'm not counting the Netflix shows because they're Netflix shows, not Disney Plus shows. Outside of the Hawkeye episode with Kingpin in, the episode with Daredevil in, best singular episode of a Disney Plus show, in my opinion. Heavily biased, and I don't care that he has sex. I don't care that he has sex with Jen Walters. It makes sense. Like the whole show, it seems like Jen's arc, or her character arc, is like her just trying to get banged, and then she gets banged by the one person in the Marvel Universe everyone wants to get banged by. So, tick, you know. But yeah, I thought the show itself, there are episodes where you can skip. There are episodes that are really good. I think the first episode and the last two are some of the best things on Disney Plus. The first episode is iffy because it does have that weird line about Jen telling Bruce he knows nothing about trauma. My thing about that is that all of the childhood trauma that Bruce had isn't anything that's really been explored in the MCU. It's been hinted at. We've had things in like Age of Ultron that have been like, yeah, Bruce is a troubled man, obviously, and we've had him try and commit suicide. We've had him, like, the whole 2008 movie is a thing, and is a thing that's being referenced more and more, and it's referenced heavily in this, with Abomination being in it. I liked Emil Blonsky a lot, and I like that he becomes like a yogi, and I like the new design for Abomination. I like Porcupine shows up in this show. There's an episode where She-Hulk goes to like Emil Blonsky's retreat, and there's a load of deep cut Marvel characters there, and Porcupine is one of them. He's like the one that I recognized. I was like, holy shit, Porcupine is in an MCU thing? That's freaking cool. I don't care if it's a joke. He's a joke character. Chuck him in here. And that's the thing that I wanted this show to go in more with. It could have been each episode was dealing with a different D-list or deep cut Marvel character, and like you could have had so many different things, like an episode, the episode after the Blonsky trial should have been Wong being taken to court by the Vishanti, or by like the hosts of Hoggoth, or whatever the body that decides who the Sorcerer Supreme is. He should have been taken to court for essentially aiding and abetting a prison break, and like to see whether he's still worthy of the Sorcerer Supreme. That would have been a fun episode, but no, they just do Donnie Blaze, and then there's a whole episode about like trying, like Titania makes a makeup line called She-Hulk and tries to sue Jen Walters for using that name. So Jen uses her Tinder, or the She-Hulk Tinder account, to show that she's using that alias to get dick. So yeah, there's some episodes that are brilliant, like the Daredevil episode, the final episode, and there's some episodes that are just borderline painful to watch, and that's where this show, it's a fine line of do I judge it by the things that I really liked, or the things that it did that made me happy, like bringing Daredevil back? Even though this show's not the one that brought Daredevil back, he came back with No Way Home, but that's beside the point. Is it that, or do I judge it by its absolute lows? And I think I have to go slap bang in the middle with this, and have to say it's okay, it's alright. You know, I think it's worth it for, you know, that Daredevil episode, because it's not just good because Daredevil's in it. Daredevil being in it is a big part of why it's good, but the chemistry between Daredevil and Tatiana Maslany, between Charlie Cox and Tatiana Maslany, is great. I mean, bonus points for the tailor being called Luke, by the way. Bonus points. But yeah, those two actors, I hope that She-Hulk is in at least an episode of Daredevil, because, well, the way that this show ends, they're officially a couple, basically. So I hope that they get more screen time together, because I liked how they bounce off each other. And Leapfrog in a Disney Plus show? What the fuck? What backwards world are we living in where Leapfrog is in a show? Like, it does some things that I really liked. It made me chuckle, it made me laugh in places, and it made me belly laugh in some places. But it also was not very good in some other places, and there were some episodes, there were a couple episodes, like whole episodes, where I just felt like that was crap. So yeah, I think overall, meh. Overall, middle of the road. It's not as bad as Moon Knight, because Moon Knight actively doesn't get the character, and is actively, like, poorly written, and just changes what the core character is meant to be a globe-trotting adventure, and that's not what Moon Knight is. She-Hulk is a comedic character that breaks the fourth wall and is fun, and, you know, deals with superhuman law, and that's where this show could have triumphed, because it was taking from the best She-Hulk run, which is the Dan Slott one, and it's taking from some of the best She-Hulk stuff. I feel like it should have lent more into the wackier cases, and just being like, and poking fun at the wider MCU as a whole, and it should have been the Dan Slott run, but MCU-ified. I felt like it tried to do something, it tried to be that, and to do something completely different as well, and to, you know, be this wacky, zany, procedural sitcom, which kind of in two minds about. What's good in this is really good, what's bad in this is really bad. And that's not even talking about the CG. The CG is some of Marvel's worst. So yeah, it's weird seeing Daredevil flip around as a CG thing as well. It looked fine. It didn't look nearly as bad as She-Hulk did. And She-Hulk is the one that you follow throughout the entire show. So yeah, her looking like Princess Fiona, especially when you're supposed to believe that she's meant to be like hyper-sexualized, but the character doesn't look, the actual CG doesn't play into that aspect of the character. it just falls flat, kind of. That whole aspect of the character does kind of fall flat. If you don't believe that something is actually there and that something is real, if it looks like it was put there in post-production, if it doesn't look like She-Hulk could be real, or if it doesn't look like that's actually an 8-foot green woman sitting in front of this person, if it looks like obvious CG, then you failed. That's what the show looks like, or that's what it looks like. So yeah, She-Hulk overall, it's fine. I like the Daredevil episode, but I can't really say that the show is brilliant because of one episode that I'm extremely biased about. I can't really say the show is terrible because it did have the episode that I'm extremely biased about, and there's some stuff in it that I really like, and the finale is one of the best MCU finales. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you thought of She-Hulk. If you like the show, if you hate the show, let me know why as well. Don't just say, I don't like She-Hulk, woman, bad. Or like, yeah, just let me know in the comments below what you thought of the show. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see She-Hulk appear in more stuff, and if you want to see She-Hulk appear in the Daredevil show as well. 18 episodes, she's bound to show up in one of them. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Peace.